Oh, okay. Okay. We're live. So, welcome to the Behind the Music panel for Turning the Tables with Robin Roberts. Turning the Tables is out on Disney Plus Wednesday, July 28th. And we're here to talk about the introspective, inspiring soundtrack. So I'm Kyle Guffey. I'm the music coordinator and head of marketing for Flavorlab, and I'll be moderating today. Thank you all for being here. And if everybody just wants to go around and introduce yourselves and what you did for the project, that would be great.
Okay, I'll start. Hi, I'm Kadine. I was showrunner and executive producer of the show.
And my name is Mai-Elka Prado, and I was the singer, the voice for the show.
Hey everybody, Glenn Schloss here, co-founder at Flavorlab and part of the composing team with Erik Blicker that created the theme song with these amazing people on the panel today, and thrilled to be here to talk about it.
All right. Excellent, everybody. So I guess I'd like to dive into just involvement and the initial process of getting this score going. So I'll start with our showrunner, Kadine. How did you get involved with Turning Tables, and what did it mean to you to be part of making that project come alive?
Yeah, it was well, one, let me begin by saying just thank you so much for having me. This is really awesome. It's always fun to get to collaborate with people that you think are brilliantly talented, but it's even better when they're your friends. So I'm so honored really that to have you guys be a part of this project. I got involved with Turning the Tables with Robin Roberts because I have a friend, just a very dear friend. I call her my fairy job mother. Her name is Erica Clark, and she always recommends me for things. You know, she hears about things and she connects me with people. And it was one of those things. My fairy job mother came through, and she connected me with who did she connect with me? Who did I connect with first? I'm trying to remember. It was with the Spring Hill Company, which is LeBron James's production company. And I met with them. And from there, then I met with Robin's company, which is Rockin' Robin. And then I got the job. Then I, passed out, died, came back. And so that's how it all started. And I know that you were wondering, like, where did the, so where it was like, oh, there's got to be like a theme song or music. That was, I was actually, I knew that it had to happen. We just knew like, oh, we're going to need music in some capacity. And I went to, when we went and shot in LA, I was staying in Westlake Village, and the hotel was just really, I was staying at the Four Seasons, and it was facing this beautiful like mountain range of some sort. And I always had to drive past it. And every time I looked at it, because I knew that I had to think of music. And every time I looked at it, I heard Mai-Elka's voice. And that's just a true, true story. And Mai-Elka and I have known each other for years now. And I was just like, this is so interesting. And, and I just kept hearing her voice, and I would, driving and wherever. And I just kept hearing her voice, and I kept thinking about like, it has to be like the goddess, like it has to be the woman, that connection. And, and I was like, all right, well, let me put it down, because who knows? But then when I looked it up, the mountain range, it's like a hiking trail. It's called Las Vírgenes, which is the Virgins. And it's out in LA. And I'm like, oh, nah, that's definitely it. I'm thinking about like goddesses and my friend. I'm like, and it's Spanish. That's it. It's got to be her. So that was the birth of like, for me, the theme song. And of course, I always think of Flavorlab to work with, because you guys are magical, and it's I really enjoyed collaborating with you guys over the years on my project. So I couldn't think of anybody else to do it with, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. And I guess my follow-up to that, now that we are sort of talking about the initial inspirations for the music, is when you are looking for music talent or really anything else, what is it that you're looking for in a supervisor or composer once you get to that stage?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. Obviously, the bare minimum, right, is someone that understands music. Not just somebody that can like make music, because I feel like some people can make music, but some people I don't think understand it. And when I say, by the way, my understanding isn't, I can't read music or anything like that. But when I think of it as like a visceral thing, like when you can understand the way that it connects people, like the way that to evoke emotion, And so that's just bass. And then from there, it's when you can really work with someone, you can really, when I can tell someone, I have this weird idea, and I'm thinking it's going to go like this, and then we're going to do this. And Glenn and Eric look at me and they're just like, yeah, okay. Yeah, of course we can do that. And I'm like, really? I don't sound like a crazy person. So yeah, it's someone who can really like translate a thought, and make it a song. And I don't know that that's an easy thing to do, but maybe for me, it's been it's been an easy experience because I've always done it with you guys and you always make it that way. But that's what I look for personally.
Amazing. So Glenn and Eric, I know that you and Kadine had extensive conversations about what you wanted to evoke in the score when the show was being talked about. So for the two of you with the music, what were your main goals based on that direction or in addition to that direction when you started writing those initial themes?
Sure. Well, Kadine, you and I had a conversation first, right? Initially. And you were super excited about it. And we started vibing about some ideas. And then I quickly got Eric involved. I said, we have to all hop on a call together and really hash this out.
Yep.
Because there's nobody better at detective work and asking questions than my partner Eric. He's so on it, and I know it's just he keeps me grounded and focused a lot of times. And so it was such a wonderful that first conversation we had. I was just so excited to bring Eric into the mix, and then we got on a call, and it was just like I think we spoke for at least an hour.
Yeah, definitely.
Back and forth, and you had a couple of music references in mind. You mentioned Mai-Elka, how excited you were to send us some of her material so we could look at it and we could vibe and figure out if this was going to be the right fit. And I know you were convinced, and you said, guys, I can't not wait for you to check out Mai-Elka's stuff.
Yeah.
And so, again, like we have that relationship where we have such trust for each other that I was excited to check out Mai-Elka and listen to her vocal stuff. And then I was cluing Eric into our conversation, and then sure. Eric got involved on the call, and we had, why don't you share some of your perspective?
Yeah, well, thanks to everyone on this project. It was so incredibly fun and amazingly rewarding. And I think that Kadine was just like, she just led the charge creatively and had faith and was just like connection. And it was just so refreshing and beautiful to be creative with everybody. And from that perspective, that initial meeting, she's like, well, I don't know, but she's like the true creative, brilliant person where she'll just throw a bunch of stuff and she's like, I don't know. It's like throw stuff back. And it was just like, it was all like incredible ideas, just sparking ideas. And I'm sure she does that, not just with the music, with all of the people that surround her, that she does creative stuff. I'm not just like saying that. I really, really do mean that. It was like really inspiring. So we went away, and also to the fact also that we went away, we wrote a whole bunch of like melodies that were like spiritual and building and stuff. And they kind of got shelved. Everything kind of got shelved. And it was also Kadine, also being the true producer, trying to find the right thing for the project, was like, well, we got to throw a lot of singers in the mix. We can't just have Mai-Elka do it.
Yeah.
So she had to get, we had to get other singers to sing a bunch of different things. Then Mai-Elka sang a whole bunch of things and had to go up the chain and down the chain and all this, like the way the TV thing works. And Kadine was really just amazing at like being like, yeah, I think this is absolutely the direction, but validating the creative process as it was going. And it was just incredible leadership. It was so much fun because we were just throwing stuff together, and yeah, it was super fun. That's cool.
So the follow-up to that is you have a few different ideas, and then Mai-Elka gets thrown into the mix as one of the singers because you have to have a wonderful woman's voice on this soundtrack. So Mai-Elka, you got the call to demo, and what was that process like for you?
Well, thank you, everyone. First of all, it was quite an experience. I think it was one of the most interesting experiences in my life because I feel like I was ready for the moment. As a singer-songwriter, I've been preparing myself for a gig like this for a long time. But the only thing is that I didn't know how to record myself. And then with the pandemic, I had to buy the equipment. I need to like learn how to do this thing myself. And if it wasn't for that, it would have been very, very challenging to to engage with Eric and Glenn and the different ideas that we have for the vocals and and also be able to do it from home. So all of these circumstances were like leading to for me to be ready, to have the preparation for the opportunity. And so yes, I auditioned. She told me not to get too hype. Don't get too hype. You're auditioning. We'll see what's the best fit. And truly, I was okay with that. Just the fact that you consider me to be there, to be one of the people that were talented and like just ready for the opportunity. I am very grateful. I'm very grateful for that. And then also Eric and Glenn through all of the stages of doing this, the patience, the calls that we had, jamming, and I'm a singer, but it takes ear, and we were trying to connect via phone, and instead of being able to be present because we're going through the pandemic, right? So we're trying to figure that out, and I think we did a beautiful job. I think that it was really truly genuine. The guidance that Kadine, when I was selected, gave me. She said, "Spiritual is feminine, is calming, it's just real. It needs to be real." So with that in mind, I try to dig deeper into my vocals, into my own capacity, and thinking about beautiful sounds, trying to do something different, trying to think outside of the box, because you put that trust in me, and I was not gonna let you down, girl. I said, this better be good.
No, it was so good. I'm sorry, I'm just like jumping out of turn, but it was just so special, and I just have to like highlight that, like, the fact that this show was basically made like this. It was made via Zoom. You know what I'm saying? Via video conferencing, in the sense that, like, it was produced that way. It was cast that way. Like, and I didn't meet the crew in person until we were actually shooting, like a day before or whatever. Like I've never operated in this way before. And like you said, it's tremendous trust, right? Like, so it was just like, and when I came and I was like, I want this song, but I don't want it to have lyrics, really. I just want it to be like sounds. And I want to be able to take those pieces of those sounds and then maybe put them over here. And then it's got to be different for each episode. So, and I'm saying it and I'm like, I sound like a crazy person, but that's exactly what you guys did.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so for me, like, I cannot, like, right now, I don't even, I'm having trouble. It's been a very difficult couple of like months and like really days though, where I'm like, oh, the things are happening, like all the work that you put into projects and the thoughts and the dream and the, you're like, oh, will this work? Will this idea come together? And like, now it's like the show premieres tomorrow, and I'm just like, so yeah, I just wanted to make sure and like say that you guys are awesome. I'll just keep saying it over and over.
Yeah.
Kadine, I so appreciate everything you just said. And I was just thinking I was having a flashback of that call where we all got on together on the screen, and you were getting ready for pre-production, and you were introducing everybody, and we were all in the little squares. And, as composers and musicians, we don't always get that opportunity to be on that first call. And I think that's a testament to the way you operate, and you wanted to bring everybody in on it, and your spirit and your energy. And it's like everybody was amped up on that in those squares.
We were fired up.
When you talk about like the premiere's happening tomorrow, and I think back to that moment before any of this magic and creativity happened, but you were like harnessing that point A, and now we're at point Z. It's just awesome that we made it to the finish line. and to be super, super. I mean, we talk about this all the time, but we're so proud of this theme, and that
Yeah.
Mai-Elka was just the perfect vocalist.
Yeah.
And when you look at, you know, when you see that video and you see that opening shot and you hear the voice, it just, you know, and it was what
I
you had.
want to see it.
Yeah.
You want to see that?
You're gonna pass out. You're gonna pass out. It's so pretty. It's so pretty, and it's so special, you know, like I think, and I just, my gratitude is like, you know, the cup runneth over, because like, you know, like I know what you're talking about, those squares, right? It was like one of these, and I just wanted everyone to understand that they mattered in this project, that like what they did mattered, and we're all interconnected. Like, and so if you see it and you understand what everybody's doing, then you can therefore, you know, it's a point of orientation for what you do. I think teamwork is so important, but you just have to know what your part in the team is, you know, and then you just like show, because like I can't do what you guys do, right? And I don't want to. Sure. And I know, I feel like you're so good, and then you come in and then you just make it this other thing that I could have never even done. And that's the joy for me, right? Like right now, like my whole theme, I told my sister literally on a call right before, he says like, I want to find joy in productivity, you know, like that's like, I just want to do that because I get really lazy, but like, you know, that was a moment of joy and productivity for me, right? That I could just be like, I put together this awesome team of people, and they're gonna like bring their special sauce, and it's just gonna explode into like a feast of special sauce, because everybody's so good at what they've done. And I think that when we watch, you know, when you watch and you see it, I think that will definitely, it comes through, you know. And I actually randomly did an interview with The Melanated Way, which is like an online, it's like a blog, kind of like a, you know, a site, and they reviewed it, and she was just like, I love this show so much. Her name is Linda Atwee, I believe it, and she's so lovely. And she was just like, I love this show so much, everything, like the music, like she was just like calling everything out and how much she loved it. And it just like, you know, because when you work on something, you know how much you like it. But when somebody else is like, yo, no, this is really good, you're just like,
yes.
Yeah. It's really, really rad.
Awesome.
All right. So I kind of want to skip ahead to some of my questions about, one of them is, and we've talked about this a little bit, we've talked about everybody's ability to kind of take their role in the collaboration and run with it. But what else defines a successful creative collaboration for you guys, and what made this creative partnership successful?
I could definitely say that Kadine's leadership definitely helped make it successful, and having vision, but not like, but allowing everyone to be participate in their creativity. So that's what made it exceptionally successful for us creatively, is that it's like, hey, I have this idea, and it brings everybody in. She's sort of like, we actually spoke to this guy who was Steven Spielberg's director of post-production, and he said that his job is to be the creative casting agent for production and post-production, and put together the best cast for who's going to be the editor, and who's going to be the sound, who's going to mix it, and who's going to be the composer. And I think Kadine just did an unbelievable job with that, like putting the team together. And that's, you know, you don't know in the beginning. I'm sure she probably doesn't know. She's probably all kinds of, oh, is this the right guy for the, you know, it's probably all of that stuff. But that was kind of I think, part of it, big part of it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So we've talked about the good stuff, but undoubtedly with any show, especially a show made during a pandemic, there are going to be challenges. So what were some of the main challenges you faced, and how did you overcome those? They can be pandemic related or not, it doesn't matter, but whoever wants to talk about that.
Sure, I could take a stab. I mean, I think, you know, Mai-Elka touched on it a little bit. You know, we hadn't worked together before. There was a lot of trust, and there was a connection for Kadine and Mai-Elka, and certainly it was never the voice itself. It was how are we going to record it and make it happen and make it pop and make it glossy and polished. And so we had a lot of back and forth, and Mai-Elka shouldered a lot of it at home. and really came through. That was a challenge, I would say, for a moment to get those tracks together. But I will say on that pandemic front that we had to start doing a lot of remote recording. So I was feeling fairly confident that, we've been looking at a lot of squares as lately creatively. So I wasn't terribly concerned, I was mildly concerned, that not being in the same room, not having that vibe and the chemistry, and you just being on the other side of the glass, and we could hang out, we could listen to things. But I found in a weird sort of way that sometimes it's even more efficient and constructive to not be together, to have like that initial creative conversation, and then you take the ball and run with it, and you know exactly what we're looking for and what we're talking about. And then it's, you have an opportunity to breathe and work on some passes without any interference. And then we kind of get it back and forth before we go back to kadine with it, and we kind of, manicure it. But there wasn't a lot of that. It was like you kind of nailed it early on. So you made it easier for us. But again, there's sort of the fear of the unknown sometimes, where when you're not recording in the same room with us. So that was interesting, and that was a potential challenge.
There was definitely technical challenges a little bit too, in the regards that she was recording in her kitchen, so like there was like refrigerator noise, and since
it was the heater.
So the heater. Since we have all audio post chops too, like
oh my god,
I was able to go in and remove what I thought it was a refrigerator. I didn't know it was. I was able to take that out of her vocal and just get all the the beautiful, just make it super clean to make it sound like it was recorded in like totally professional studio. Like her voice really came through on her recording it in her kitchen.
Guys, I was singing under a quilt.
Are you serious?
I've been there.
Under the quilt. I'm like, Amilcar, please hold it. I need to breathe.
That's so funny.
It needed to get done.
By any means, by any means.
By any means necessary.
I think
for what it's worth, Darren Korb, who's like, nominated for all kinds of awards in game audio, he did the whole soundtrack for the game Bastion, which is very popular, under a lofted bed, under two quilts. So great things can be done.
Under the quilt. For me, it was managing my anxieties, right? And like it's standard, I guess, but it was like, will they, like I hear it this way, will they understand what I'm saying? And knowing that they will, but meaning like Flavorlab, you guys, Eric and Glenn, like knowing that you'll understand it, but like, will you, and then like I really want Mai-Elka to be the singer, but I have to present other people, will she get chosen? It was just like all these where I'm just like, huh. And and then trusting that, and really having, giving myself enough grace, and then the project enough, just like space to allow it to be whatever it's like, understanding like, well, it's going to be what it's supposed to be, right? So just knowing that was the vibe. But and then it was really great to watch the way that I saw it come through. And then even for like, there was a moment where Glenn, like we pivoted for a minute because there's so many different ways that you have to present, and like it was like we had like stand-in music, and it was a totally different kind of tone, and people seemed to like it. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, maybe we should try this. And then we did it, and it was just like it was great what you guys did, but it was just not it, and I was like, this isn't it, and so we went back to what was originally there, and I'm like, okay, great. And then everybody was like, oh yeah, this is it. And I was like, oh, but it was me. The music was already there, but I was like, oh, maybe we should try this other thing. But I needed to go somewhere else to come back to what I knew was right, just to like, you have to like kind of go a different direction and make sure what your initial thought was accurate. That's what happened to me. And I'm just so grateful because Glenn, you really like talked me off that ledge very gently.
I believe it was a Sunday morning. You called me on the bat line.
Yeah.
And yeah, I remember that conversation. And to your point, kadine, like we went in a whole different, like we had this incredible, crazy, creative conversation. And then you know, and it happens so often, right? Where there's some temp tracks put in and then it turns into something else because, you know, the editor innocently put something in and people dig it because it's working. You know, it might not be the original vision.
Yeah.
So I think, you know, so we had a couple of those iterations of getting some temp tracks in there. And we had spent a couple of weeks on that original aria kind of vibe.
Yeah.
And so when you called me in a bit of a panic, like, hey, we have to pivot. Honestly, my thought was, we have it. We have it. Like, we have those tracks. And I called Eric up immediately. And I was like, Eric, I'm sending Kadine all of those demos that were nurtured from the original meeting.
Yeah.
And I was so confident, Kadine.
Yeah.
You were going to love those tracks.
Yeah.
It really was. I mean, you know, it was Sunday at 2:00 in the afternoon. And I sent them off. And we waited for a quick moment. And then I got your email back.
Yeah.
And it was like, it was all hearts.
I'm like, yay, this is it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm a crazy person, you know.
No, I was so happy.
But it's so
happy.
but what's crazy about that also is that you're like creative vision to be able to go with that, to be able to hear. And I remember being like very nervous and be like, just listen to the melody. Don't listen to my voice. Listen to it. Just listen to the melody, because when I was writing the melodies, I was thinking of all the strong women in my life, my wife.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
My mother and everything. So I had all those melodies in our back pocket after it had got changed. So that was pretty wild that you had the ability to hear past all of that and be like, oh, that's the melody. Yeah, I get to hear Mai-Elka doing that, and then it's like, okay, let's do that and see how that goes.
Yeah, that was so. I mean, like, really, that was such an important moment because it happens. Like, you know, okay, we're going in one direction, and it's just like, yeah, let's do this, and you know, then everybody goes, like you said, oh, this is cool because an editor put this kind of sound on or whatever, and then it's just like, oh no, that's not it, and me feeling like I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, or not that was a throwing, but like, or put you up against the wall, basically, of like, oh my God, I made you go this way and really we need to go the other way. And you're like, girl, we got you. It was just like, that's right. They've got me.
For me, it was a sign. A sign. Let me tell you what happened.
Oh, this is such a good story.
So after sending all my tracks, first of all, when we talk about technical issues, I sent all of the tracks with a click. Remember?
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
I do remember that, yeah.
At 2 a.m., they're like, you gotta send all of those tracks again. So I did that, and then I went to work to my 9 to 5 job, right? And at 12, I go to lunch to this little restaurant right next to the office, and I buy my food. And when I'm leaving, guess who is coming in and opens the door for me? The one and only Robin Roberts. Hell yeah, that happened to me. I'm not exaggerating. I'm not lying. I was like, this is a sign. She doesn't know what she's doing for me right now. She's hungry. She's just getting lunch. But she just seeing her after sending those tracks to you guys, I understood.
Crazy.
So I said to myself, that has to be mine. The opportunity is mine.
Wow.
The opportunity is mine.
Mm-hmm.
There's no one else for the job. You know, I'm truly proud of the work that we did, the communication that we had, the openness to talk and ask questions, and the patience, and all of that. All of that made it extra special, you know, because everybody was comfortable to work together in a very unpractical in way that we're not used to do this kind of work. So that happened to me, guys.
It's amazing.
It's a true story.
I love that story. When she told me that, I was like, what?
Yep. I was like, I can't believe this. I can't believe
did I tell you that I told Robin? I told her that story. I told her. I emailed it to her. I was like, you need to know this. And she said that she calls those God's wink. So God was winking at you.
That's
yes. I love that. I love that.
And just, you know, I need to call out, you know, we're talking about all the music, but like, it was so important. I just want to call out Robin, because Robin Roberts is like, she's Robin Roberts, you know, like she's literally, She's one of the most amazing humans I've ever met. And I keep saying this, so people are like, she keeps saying this, but she has such a beautiful and bright light, you know? And what I love about her light is that it's so warm and it's so all encompassing. Like, it's never like, oh, watch me shine. It's like, oh, come into the warmth and let's all shine together. You know, she really, really is just such a wonderful person. Like, she made it a point to know everybody on the crew's name, you know, like things like that. When you watch somebody, that those are the things that stand out to me. Yeah. That she's like personally invested in thanking the audio man for coming in and adjusting her mic, you know. And you know, and she took everything so serious. You know, she took it serious. You know, it wasn't just like, okay, I'm gonna come in and do this. It was like, she researched everything. You know, we give her notes, but she researched everything on her own as well, you know, and just had an understanding. And it was very important for her to just like be authentic, you know, and to really connect with these women and to really be able to have these conversations, because, you know, the music is just reflecting what we were doing on the show, right? And that was women connecting in a way, and women they're so iconic, right? And yet having them connect in this very stripped down, raw, you know, like the music, this way, and to have conversations that you normally don't hear women openly talking about because of the standards that we ourselves as women have put on, and that society has given us as well. And then you know, for me to be at the helm of all of that, I took it so seriously, you know, because it's just like, and it's on a platform like Disney Plus rather, where children are watching, you know, they're impressionable. And it was so important for me. And really, if you notice the way that, for me, even the way that it was shot was with the understanding that it's a child sneaking into these conversations. You know, they're not supposed to be really, you know, because I remember when my aunts would be having conversations and, you know, they're talking about life and all the things. And I was always like listening from the side somewhere, you know, and trying to like understand. And then that to me is what, you know, the ethos of this is like, it's women connecting in a way, but you know, we snuck in, you know, you snuck in and got a chance to be privy to this type of conversation, because, you know, I feel like in some weird ways, like that, just that authenticity sometimes, because we are in these boxes, that gets lost in translation somehow sometimes. And so it was really important for me to ensure that the content and the messages that we were sending and that we were saying were ones that were, you know, just about female empowerment and inclusion and multi-generational, you know. So and I'm just hoping that comes across, and that the music, obviously, you know, that it was a reflection of that as well, you know. Mai-Elka, I don't know if you know this, but the reason that I kept hearing your voice was from those videos that you sent me earlier in the summer, you when you were singing by yourself under that bridge.
Prospect Park?
Yep. That's why I kept it. I think it was Cada Marea, right?
Yeah, it was mucho muy muy cada marea en necio corazón.
Yeah, and you sent it to me. You were like, I need you to listen to this, but don't tell anybody. And I was like, okay. And I remember, I think it was Cada Marea. There was one that I don't know which one, that I was like, I remember I fell in love with it. And that's why, and maybe that's, so when I see this like mountain range, I just kept hearing it for some reason, I promise. And it was like that kind of like deep guttural, like I feel this, you know, and I just kept, that was the sound.
Because it was a cappella. That recording was a cappella, and it was like my first time just trying to sing a cappella at 6 a.m. in the morning with a friend of mine that makes really dope videos, you know, and collaborating with him, and just trying to still make music, you know, during these times. So I was like, maybe, you know, for all of these years I've worked with bands, and I've always thought that I need a band, I need the drummer, I need the guitar, I need everything. I needed everything, you know, and the trumpets and all of this, the horns. But then as an artist, it was also important for me to just listen to myself, just create on my own and realize that there is beauty in the a cappella, in the soulful, in the, in that kind of expression that is not so much performative, but it is insightful of the soul.
Yep.
And that's why I created that piece of three songs that I wrote, and share with you. I was like, yeah, I said that. I was like, don't show it to anyone. This is literally just for me. I'm not ready to put it out. I'm not ready to show it to anyone. But I'm very glad, very glad I sent it to you. Very glad that you heard me, that you felt me.
Always. And like, so, and I know you guys know this, but it's like, it's super important for me to say that me and Mai-Elka are Panamanian sisters, and so like, that's just another layer of like pride for both of us, right? Like, we're both Afro-Latinas, and to be women of color from a tiny little Latin country, and getting to do these types of things, right? Like it's the dream, like it's the dream. And that, and then, so like, it's just like, when you do it on your own, it's like, okay, cool, look at me, but then when you get to bring someone else in, and they're from your literal corner of the universe, and that there's like, it's just, I'm getting like all like, but it's, Panama's such a tiny country. And so like, when you tell people I'm from Panama, they're like, oh, there's a canal there, right? Like, that's like, people are like, oh, I've heard of that. And there's nothing wrong with that. And it's just that, you have this tremendous pride, because you're like, we're so much more than a canal. And
we are.
You know what I mean? And then to get to share just a moment in time like this with, someone as talented, as brilliant as you, and that we get to share our culture in this way, right? Yeah. Because your voice is just, it's such a reflection of who we are, as Panamanian women. Like, it's just it. And so to be able to put that on a platform, and not in a self-effacing way, like, oh, let me just do this because like, let me put my friend on, but no, this is the right thing to do in this right moment. That's the dope part.
And also like in terms of representation, that's also important to support Afro-Latinidad, to support, the work of Robin as an African American woman, and then in the music include Afro-Latinidad, an Afro-Latina woman. That is the type of content that unites us. That is what people want to see right now.
Exactly.
People want to see what people want to feel connected in every single aspect. They want to see projects that are full, complete. You did an amazing job.
Oh, you flatter me. Thank you. I'm just really, it's exciting. It's exciting because like for me, it's like, oh, I like to paint. The thing I used to say when I first started working productions, like, I like to paint pretty pictures, and now what that that vision has grown of what the pretty picture is, like now I get to work with teams. It's not just me, like, shooting some little thing and writing a little script to go along with it. And it's 15 seconds, which is where I started, like, and now I'm making like shows. And they're about women and they're about authenticity and vulnerability and things that I take so personally, just like in my own nature. I think that that's a big part. I had a friend say to me, it's really nice that the principles that you believe in get to be a part of your work now.
Yes.
That's huge.
It's amazing.
It's huge, right? Yeah. Like I'm all about, believing in self and all of the things, like even vulnerability and authenticity. And vulnerability is something that's very difficult for me, right? But like I get to work on that by doing something like this. I get to learn more about, I had Jamie Lee Curtis explaining to me about vulnerability, and I'm like, yes, Jamie Lee Curtis, and yes, Melissa Etheridge, I will be more authentic, like But really, just like women that I've just like held in such high regard for all sorts of different reasons, and that I got to be a person that was a part of this moment to bring, because it's such a need, they were such needed conversations,
Yeah.
you know, so necessary. And, you know, when we talk about like women and what that looks like, you know, obviously it was very important for it to be women of different races, women of different age groups was just a mandate. All of these were mandates. And it was very important to me that there be women, you know, trans women as well, because we know and to have conversations about gender and what it means to be a woman, but what that means now, right? Because what it means now is so different than what it meant before and what it'll mean tomorrow, you know? So I feel like so honored to have been able to capture this moment in this way.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so it is 8, so I want to pose one last question to everybody about the show, about this project. And we've talked a little bit about what this project was to everybody, but what does turning the tables mean to each of you?
That's a good one, Kyle. Somebody else other than me start. I feel like I talk too much.
It's fine. Turning the tables.
It's kind of interesting, because when you pose that question, it does make me think like you're having a different perspective, right? Or you're adding in all these people. So it's the creative process that we had in this project felt like, you know, it was constantly turning. And I think that one of the interesting things was with it being such a creative project all around and all of this creativity being filled into it, there was this other side of it that was in this business was there was this patience, you know, and to get really good creativity, you have to have patience. But you know, it's always at odds when you're doing television. You're always doing like quick turnaround stuff, right? But we had time. Kadine brought us in early, so there was a patience. There was a space for creativity, which was amazing, because a lot of times it's like, you know, you got to bang, 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 whatever. So having that sort of turning the tables, like in this business, to be like, here, do something, come up with something beautiful and creative and connecting and spiritual, was like, wow, okay, that is turning the table.
For me, it was like flipping the script without words. It was merging into melody, into sound. I think it was a very vulnerable place to be, but that made it genuine. That's exactly what made it genuine and real, and an experience that I will never forget, and that I feel very, very happy to, you know, just to be able to flip that, to change that, to yeah, basically that. Because I started recording, you know, very humbly. I was like, okay, let me find myself here, and then each track, I was like, just be easy with yourself, you know. Just take the time to build up to that moment that you're like, I know where I'm going, you know, and that was a lesson. So for me, that's turning the tables on myself, on that vulnerability, and switching it to goddess mode.
You totally went into goddess mode for sure. I mean, you're always in goddess mode, but you turn.
It took some work.
Yeah.
That was beautiful, Mai-Elka.
Thank you.
I would say sort of where we began and where we love, power, connection, all of the thoughts that Kadine laid on us from the beginning,
Yeah.
and how that sort of fell into this song, into this theme song. All of those words, openness, vulnerability, all of those things, it sort of encapsulates, I think. And I think we achieved it. I think we got that fuzzy, warm feeling from, you know, from the work. And like I said earlier, when you look at the open, you do feel that there's something prolific and big about the open, and the arrangements kind of is pretty sparse as well. But when you hear that voice come in, it's turning the tables. It's special.
We I'm gonna go backwards a little bit, because once we recorded it, once you guys sent it, so then I start watching cuts with the music in the open, and I would honestly, I would start it over, and I'd be like, I'd sing along. I am not a good singer, but I love to sing, and I'm like, we're turning, and I'm like, and then, but there's a whole thing that you do, and I won't even try it, but it's the DVD da, and it does a whole thing, but then all of a sudden, all of the producers are humming along. I hear, and they're all humming along. When we're watching like cuts and stuff, and like where's that? And like they're sending me texts with the words. They're like DBD da. So like and I'm like, like, and my sister even at one point was like singing along in the background, because like she kept hearing it over and over. So whatever, that I say that to say that you did it, because when everybody's singing it too, that's the point. Obviously, yes, my directive was like, I want it to be this thing and powerful and spiritual and an aria and let the voice build. But the goal of a song, right, is to always so that it's memorable and that people like they hear it and they know, oh, it's that thing, right? And even like to the point that, sorry?
You mentioned iconic when we were, because you're like, these are iconic women. The melodies and the music has to be iconic.
It has to, we had to match them, And like, even when I think about like, CNN is doing, I think they have this thing about like what happened to the theme song of like shows. It's a whole thing where people acknowledge that there aren't really theme songs anymore. And so for me to go back to your original question, Kyle, about like turning the tables, it's like, how do we turn, for the whole thing was, it was to begin with Robin. It was the tables being turned on Robin because she normally is the only one interviewing. But these women were asking questions of her as well. And, she gets very vulnerable in ways that like, she says like, I've never spoken about this publicly. So be prepared for some big moments, y'all. So that's exciting. And, so there was that, there was the turning the tables of the interviewers asking the interview, or the interviewees asking the interviewer, whichever one, I'm messing that up. And then there's also like, that these women were having conversations that normally, we turned the tables on them. We didn't ask them the press junket questions. We didn't, it wasn't about, so tell me about, when you watch, it's really not about like, what do you got going on? And you're so awesome. It's just about like being a human, it's very vulnerable and raw in that way as well. And then, so there's that turning the tables. And it was also turning the tables on Robin Roberts, because they wanted her to be not, Robin, Good Morning America Robin, but just like Weekend Robin. So that was my charge. Like, how do we present her in this other way? And how do I create an environment where she feels comfortable doing that? Because that's a big part of it. Yeah. So I had to turn the tables on myself and trust myself in a way that I've never done before. Like I always, anybody who knows, all y'all know, I second guess myself. I'm like, was that the right? Did I do it right? No. I had to like, no, this is what you're gonna do. This is what it's gonna be. You see it, you have to follow that vision. Like your first choice is the right choice. That's my new thing. Your first choice is the right choice. And I've just kind of like been going with that. So I had to turn the tables on myself and just all of the things that I asked of the guest, I had to do that as well. And there's a thing that happens often, like we all love our work and, you have a project and you're into it, right? And you do the work, but there's also the moments when you get into it and you're like, oh no, this is special. And I have to do this too. If I'm asking people to be authentic, then I have to be authentic too. And not that I'm not, but like you really just have to meet the moment. And I had to do that. And especially with the COVID of it all, right? It was scary time. I mean, it still is scary times, but we were deep in it at that point. And I had to just like release that fear too, and just be like, well, this is what you're doing. Yeah, you got to fly to LA, but this is what you're doing, So that's, I turned the table on myself, I think, in that way. It worked out though.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you everyone for being here. This was absolutely wonderful. And that officially concludes our panel discussion.
Yay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Really, thank you so much. You were wonderful. Great question.
Returning. Returning.
I'm like, keep going.
From here, we're going to head to, well, you guys sing your song on the way.
Yeah, do it. I'll just clap along in the background.
You want me to sing? What an honor. What an honor. Thank you so much, Queen. Thank you so much.
That's so wonderful.
Amazing. Amazing experience. Unforgettable. Thank you so much.
All right. Right on.
Yay. Gracias.
Thank you guys so much.
Kyle, what do we do now?
What happens now?